My name is Django Bada. I'm an assistant professor in the Soil, Water, Ecosystem Sciences Department, and I'm located at the Everglades Research and Education Center, which is in Belle Glade, Florida. My research and extension program deals with promoting sustainable agriculture in the Everglades agricultural area and beyond. On this particular project, I am the PI, the PD. I kind of conceptualized the study at the time of writing the proposal. And at that point, I realized that here in the Everglades agricultural area, we do a lot of fascinating research when it comes to sugarcane and rice. It's approximately 450,000 acres. While most of it is dedicated for sugarcane, almost 20% of that acreage is used for crops such as sweet corn, winter vegetables like lettuce, green beans, radishes. And during the summertime, we have the opportunity to grow and cultivate flooded rice in the region. So it's not just a monoculture. The growers in this region are mindful of the benefits of crop rotation and changing the different crops that they grow within the region.
Hydrologically speaking, where we're working is very unique for the state of Florida. We're basically pinched between two high attention areas, Lake Okeechobee and Everglades National Park. Connected to Okeechobee are going to be these, channelized outlets that lead directly to major urban areas on either side. Lagoon areas that also are dealing with environmentally sensitive things. So we're pinched between environmentally sensitive locations, and pinched between them, where we're working, is agriculturally intensive. And so what we mean by that is, there is a lot of equipment, there's a lot of fertilizer, there's a lot of interacting with the environment, both naturally and artificially, in order to produce, this agricultural product. At the same time, a very large chunk of the world's sugar comes from this area of the world. And so it's a really unique balance between environment, agricultural or food demand, urban area, urban development, and how everything kind of comes together.
This project has been funded by USDA, US Department of Agriculture, NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service. Here in the Everglades agricultural area, we are in a unique scenario. We work with a very organic soil type. These are histosols. These are highly organic soils that tend to get volatilized, which means we lose them to the atmosphere on a hot, dry condition. Soil conservation is a big component which we want to pursue as part of this study. We really want to try to make some breakthroughs with regards to cover crops, crop rotation, to see if we can slow down that rate of oxidation, slow down the process of losing our organic soils. To visually show what soil subsidence means, we are right here at the subsidence post. This was a 9-foot concrete post that was inserted in the ground back in 1924. So back in 1924, you can imagine you'd be standing right up here. Since then, we've lost almost 6 feet of our soil to the process of oxidation.
Where we're growing sugarcane, historically, has been drained wetlands, and so the soil there are unique. We call them muck soils, but they do disappear over time. They break down, and so we see changes in soil depth over time. Right now, we're looking at how that relates to the agricultural signal. Do we see that agriculture changes with soil depth, or do we have the ability to engineer our way out of those challenges?
It is only during the summertime that rice can be grown in this part of the state. Approximately 25,000 acres of rice is cultivated each summer. And so instead of keeping the fields just fallow, it's a good practice to flood them keep them hydrated, slow down that rate of oxidation. In addition, cultivating rice also allows for summer employment for the labor here. And we've also found out that it suppresses weed pressure and also pest pressure, especially arthropods. So for the subsequent cash crop, which is usually sugarcane, there is definite benefits of growing rice in the summer. Being a PI, while I can conceptualize the study, I'm not the specialist to kind of hone in on some of the topics, on some of the questions that we want to address. Hence, it was imperative that I brought in some of the collaborators on this study, including Dr. Sam Smith, who is the watershed scientist, and Dr. Young He, who is the modeler.
I carry a 60% teaching and 40% research appointment. At land-grant university, you also have extension. I teach courses in sustainable agriculture and urban land management. We are currently on the main campus of University of Florida. This is my lab, the Land and Water Lab. It is primarily a computer-based lab. We do some field work, but we're mostly computer-based people. We do a lot of GIS, Geographic Information Systems, which is really more of like mapping, but it's a much more powerful tool than just mapping because we can bring in data. And so we are using spatial data to look at trends. So what we're trying to do is analyze and develop conservation practices and evaluate the effects and assessments of those conservation practices. And so we have outfitted, sugarcane land, rice land, and we're observing those through time to identify places, where we can be more efficient or improve the conservation of farming practices in this region. So if I'm the upscale person, Django's the field-based person, now we need somebody to be that modeler person. So sought out Young-Gu He. Young is a hydrological modeler, so now that fit those components together. We can go from the field to the model to the upscale, and we have this triangle that allows for those things to happen.
I'm using two different simulation models to describe the hydrological processes happening in the study areas. So I'm using SWAP model and model flow model. So SWAP model is kind of watershed logging model developed by USDA. We use this model to describe what's happening on the ground and in the soil. And then we are using different model flow model, to describe what's going on in the aquifer.
In addition to that, our workhorses, that's our graduate students and our postdocs.
Hi, my name is Xuebai. I'm from China. I majored in environmental science as an undergraduate student. Then I completed my master's degree in physical geography in China. After that, I applied the PhD program in the Soil and Water Department of UF.
My name is Yuchuan Fan. I graduated last year. I got my PhD degree from University of Tennessee. Most of my study focused on the water quality and soil health. So that's the reason I want to take more job about this. I come here, get my postdoctoral position, and continue about this project.
My name is Fatemeh from Iran, and I am working on this project as a PhD research assistant. I graduated in watershed management sciences and engineering in top universities in Iran, and then I continued with my research interest at Lund University in Sweden.
Hello everyone, my name is Noé. I'm from Rwanda. So I'm doing the PhD program at the University of Florida, and I'm working with Dr. Django. I do believe that it's very important to find some data which can help growers, environmentalists, and other people who are interested in agriculture to be able to know how these farming practices are affecting soil subsidence. And then this will help us to come up with some sustainable other farming practices.
The three cornerstones of sustainable agriculture from my program is soil sustainability, water quality resources, and nutrient management. Christopher, it gets easier once you're in the field actually. Slow. Welcome to my laboratory. We are surrounded by almost 40 acres of flooded rice. It is very important that when we conduct any sort of field research, we try to do it on farm. We try to do it at a grower's site. And that's really important because now you are comparing apples to apples. So this is the real world scenario. I am ankle deep in a flooded field. We have a pump station that is bringing in irrigation just like it would in a rice field. The field is bunded so that it does not allow for the water to kind of seep outside of the field site. You want to make sure that there is sufficient amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for the plant to grow. Here, what is unique with rice farming in the EAA is that we do not apply any of these starter fertilizers. Rice itself takes the nutrients from the soil. Our organic histosols, rice will take that from the soils and also use some of the nutrients that it gets from the irrigation water. Keeping it on farm, letting the rice use up all that water, all that nutrients is a really good conservation practice if you think about it. And then using this research funds to actually go down and try to monitor the changes in the soil, in the water, in the plant tissue samples, allow us to quantify all the conservation practices that we plan to do over the next few years.
It's a great opportunity for me to join this great project because I'm not only working on the office or what works in the lab office. I can work in the field. I can see everything. Everything that is real world. That's the true things. I'm not focused on the computer work, writing some manuscript. That's also part of my responsibility, but it's not the only thing stuff.
Personally, I regard the fieldwork as an exercise. I feel like I'm stronger when I do the fieldwork.
This is an evaporation pan which is collecting data for us every 15 minutes of what it is that is being evaporated during the day. Right behind us is the weather station, and so the 15-minute time increment is synchronous with the 15-minute data that is being collected on the weather station as well. So we've got this Aquatrol sensor, and this Aquatrol sensor provides us with real-time data for pH, ORP, which is an oxygen value, dissolved oxygen, the temperature, nitrate, salinity. All these parameters are measured in situ about 6 inches below the soil water horizon.
Okay. Do you want to start with that? We can start with that.
In the EAA, the hydrology is driven by a network of ditches and canals. So we were in the ditch, and we want to make sure, because water is flowing through the ditches, we want to make sure we have evaluated these ditches for the nutrient content as well. The only way to do that is going in them in situ and collecting intact cores that we can then evaluate back in the lab. We are also collecting soil samples, pre and post land management. So coming in and collecting soil samples, which we then evaluate for its soil health indicators back in the lab.
I will do the lab analysis for example, the total phosphorus and total nitrogen. It may take about 4 years. We need to compare the soil and water qualities change during the different practice.
Once we generate this long-term data set, we want to try to see if we can upscale some of this data that can be used for other watersheds within the region. And with communications with our growers, we can see if some of solutions can be achieved that can be used on their specific farms. As a research scientist, I'm also mindful of the social sciences aspect of doing research, which is why I take the time to communicate the science with our stakeholders. There are times when a grower may not be open to the idea of conducting a particular research or a particular topic related to research. You have to be mindful and accepting of their thoughts and their opinion as well. So you tend to give it some time. While there are topics that are controversial within the EAA, especially related to nutrients and nutrient management, I think communication and discussing these topics openly with all stakeholders is the key. Regulators, growers, and scientists all in one room under the roof can discuss these topics openly.
That's kind of my goal on this project, is finding what does it look like to find that balance? How do we still have, I guess more candidly, like this is an intensively agricultural area. And so how can we still maintain agricultural production in a way that's environmentally sound, that still allows for, livelihood growth?
I think a scientist should share their findings with others, because many of the research projects were funded by federal and state agencies, including taxpayers' money. I'm not doing research projects for myself, for our community and society. I'm so proud of being part of our community as knowledge creator. And then I'm so happy to see that others are taking benefit of using my finding and analyses I made.
I would define social responsibility as doing the right thing for the world without getting the recognition for it. And so, why do we do the work that we actually do? Why do we walk into controversial situations or unknown situations? Why do we spend our time, racking our brains on these topics? It's because we think they're important. We think it's what is needed for the future to allow, society to continue. We're water scientists, and we continue to be water scientists because there is that value. There is that upholding of society, so to speak, both current and future, and being dedicated to that mission of we want this world to be a better place. We want to serve people. We are compassionate about how all of those things come together, and we want to see the world be a place that allows, for the next generation of water scientists to continue the mission as well.
Personally, I'm very optimistic at the future of sustainable farming in the region. I think as scientists continue doing their research, they will come up with solutions that will help the future generation to maneuver themselves through some of the difficult scenarios that farming and farmers have faced for decades. I'm very confident that we have the capacity to come up with solutions